The locations typically seen in the Like a Dragon series exist in large metropolitan areas. Crowded spaces teeming with pedestrians, illuminated by neon and LED lights, and filled with all the amenities a big city can offer. However, in Yakuza 6: The Song of Life, RGG Studio took us to a place that is at the opposite end of that spectrum. Somewhere more quiet, slower paced, and straight out of another era in time. But what does this place look like in real life compared to what we see in-game? Join us as we walk around and take a look at For this segment, we'll begin down here at East Shishido Street in Jingai Ferry Dock. From there, we'll be heading to West Shishido Street, up to Central Shopping District, and then end at the north entrance of Shops Alley. Here in real life, we'll move down to Kaigandori and begin our walk proper. It's a bit of a cold February day, but we'll take a pan around here. Nothing super familiar, but we'll begin making our way west, and we'll of course run into our first stop. We'll grab a bite to eat. It's one of the first things I did when I got into town was go on over to Maruboshi. It's right ahead of us off to the left there. And if we weren't seeing any familiar sights yet, in-game this is Jumangoku Chuka Soba. It's pretty much the same building. Even down to, if I remember correctly, the design on the bowls themselves were very, very similar, if not the same. Maruboshi here serves Onomichi-style ramen, which is soy sauce-based. I believe the soup is made with chicken bones and small fish like niboshi, and it's topped with pork back fat, seiyabura. It's pretty rich tasting, but it's not a very heavy bowl when you end up eating it. We'll go inside. And got some gyoza there. We'll take a good look at the bowl of ramen itself. The interior is also very much a dead ringer, even down to the table placement, as well as the ticket vending machine that's right near the door. It's a bit faded and a little wrinkled, but there is still a poster for the release of Yakuza 6 back in 2016 on the wall there inside the restaurant. Now in-game, the next stop is going to be right next to the ramen shop, but we're going to have to jump up the road a good ways. There's a different shop there. That's Kukai, if I remember correctly, which I thought might have been the shop we were looking for to match up to Jumangoku. But we'll head over here to Fukumoto Ferry. This port will also look very familiar to those who are well-versed in the map for Onomichi. Another spot that is very, very well represented. Even down to the placement of a lot of the vending machines, the bench area there with the shelter that's over top. Really, I'd say the biggest difference you would notice here, aside from a little bit more going on in the background, more cranes, just more objects compared to what's in-game, there's obviously no battleship going on in this area, but I think that's to be expected. Again, a very lovely day. It's a bit cold, but still quite nice. We'll continue heading west here, alongside the waterfront. A little bit longer of a walk from the ferry port to our next spot, compared to what we would see in-game. In-game, like with a lot of the maps, it is quite compressed, but Onomichi in general is kind of a postage stamp compared to a lot of the other maps in the series. And everything's a little bit more spread out here in real life. Not a lot. You could easily walk only a couple of kilometers. Everything's very, very easy to get to, but it is a bit more spread out. I think you'd already be able to tell that there is no Navy apartments. There are apartment buildings around here, for sure, but a lot of them are much newer and certainly not in the same kind of shabby condition that Kiryu's lodgings end up being during his time in Onomichi. The building that is in this spot has a couple of restaurants in it. I think one does curry, the other one does teishoku. You see some of the other buildings around here. I think there might be some hotels. You see the apartment block over there. This is relatively close. Something you don't see in game is a pretty modern looking Onomichi station area. This isn't where the Shinkansen would go, but where the local trains pass through. But it has all the amenities you would kind of expect out of a modern city, compared to in-game where it feels like you're very isolated from the rest of the world. It's a lot closer to what you would expect out of any city in Japan that you would visit in this day and age. This section here, this does not have any game footage. This is just a little bit extra. Heading up this alleyway, we'll be going into the Fukumoto area. I think also part of the Nakashotengai area as well. These are both sections of the overall Onomichi Hondori Shopping Street that runs about 1.2 kilometers and also connects up with Sentagai, or Center Street, which we will definitely be taking a look at here in a few minutes. Take a look over here, and we'll also be coming back right this way in a moment as well. That's the entranceway into the Hondori. We'll take a look around here as well before we hop back up this way and take a look at another spot that we can find in-game. You can already see some of the Showa-era elements are still alive and well on this shopping street. It's pretty quiet on this day. I think most things were either closed or just hadn't opened up yet for the business day. Back up to the Hondori entrance that we were already near. We will make our way to Oyatsu-to-Yamaneko. You should know it better as Snacks and Wildcats, serving things like milk pudding. They are quite famous for that. I have a friend that lives in Kanagawa Prefecture that visited here specifically because they were quite famous. I was really looking forward to being able to try it out and maybe even take some back home with me. However, on this day, they were closed. Thankfully, they are not closed for business permanently, but they had nothing listed on the windows, nothing listed on their Instagram. I showed up, checked it out later that afternoon, and nothing. So maybe next time I'll be able to try out the pudding. We'll see. For our last stop in this section of the walk, we'll head back over closer to where Maruboshi was and take a look around. Still a number of differences. Although when we get a little bit over to the right here, you can see the building there on the corner. I believe that's a shop in real life. It's a spot for a sub-story there in game, but it's not somewhere you can actually go inside of. Make sure we cross the street proper. Be a good Samaritan. But we'll make our way over towards Sentagai, or Center Street. We'd already seen Fukumoto and Nakashotengai, all a part of the overall Onomichi Hondori Shopping Street. This one's important to us since it's actually recreated in-game. I believe the entire street itself has history dating back to the 1940s. It had expansions in the 1960s, back when Shotengai and shopping streets were a lot more important. They're still pretty important today, but a lot have died over the years. But this one's seen some revitalization since the 1990s. You can see that elsewhere in Japan, trying to preserve some of its history and make sure these are still around and serving the local businesses and the local residents. Little bit of differences, a little bit more ornate on that sign in-game, but the color schemes are the same, the text is the same. The name's exactly the same, but I think that's more just kind of a general one. I wouldn't be surprised if the team was working with the city itself to get some of this in-game. This is a weird shop. I think they're selling airsoft weapons, but always interesting to see. There's no shop names on the signage in-game, but the design's almost exactly the same, as well as with the the skylight windows there on the roof. None of the shops, I believe, are recreated in-game, but if you pay enough attention, you'll see that RGG Studios and their map designers did attempt to recreate some of it, at least in spirit. You see off to the left here. The signs are different, but they're really close. They're trying to go for that look and feel. And one thing that you actually will end up encountering, although I would suggest not trying to use them at any point, are access ladders. Leave those for Kiryu to be able to access the roof when he needs to get away from bad guys or something else is going on. But I love walking down shopping streets like this, especially if they're playing nice soft music and it's not super busy. Some can be very, very busy, but some can be nice leisurely strolls, and you can check out what they have to offer to folks out there. We won't be able to find anybody selling us tofu here that may have also ran Pocket Circuit. But this will lead us out to National Route 2 in real life. We'll take a look around here a little bit and get a bit of an idea of where we're going to be heading next as we continue our walk through Onomichi.